Hangout on air is live. I don't know, but I have seen Nicole around clicking on things in the group. I have not seen Geo or Jazzy J. So I don't know what to say. So I am expecting Nicole. In fact, she's the only one of our group that actually replied to the invitation that yes, she would be here. So I think she'll be here. It says we have one viewer. And now we don't. I wonder if Nicole is having the same problem you have, Venita.
She might be. We have to get each other's phone numbers too. Out of all these years, I don't even have people's phone numbers. So if you want to text them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We sisters, and I don't even have a phone number. I don't even know people's address in case I have to come out there. They sick or something in the bed.
Yeah. So
maybe she is. Maybe she will.
Yeah, let me go back over to the group and see if I see any messages. Nope. So anyway, I am expecting Nicole. And I'm also expecting my friend James. He did say he might be late. And then, of course, Bill is expected at 8 o'clock. But that is it. That's all I know. So, everybody has a book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somewhere. I thought I bought it in here. I guess I didn't.
Wow.
Let me go find the book. I thought I bought it in your room.
Well, this felt like a long break. Did it feel long to you, Kim?
Yeah. It did, but it was perfect. Now I'm ready to get back in there.
Yeah. And so I read this book. In fact, I did a lot of reading over our break. But I read this, so I'm really looking forward, to reading it again and to the discussions that we'll have around it. Because it's really good.
I must compliment you, Kim. You look so fabulous. And being an empty nester really agrees with you.
Yes. I put this on.
Oh, yeah, you got a new do.
For the call. I put this on. I put it on for the call.
Yes.
And we're going to edit this part out, right? my hair issues. We're going to edit out the hair issues, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Oh, it's fabulous, but I see that extra empty nester glow in there. It's great.
Man, I'm trying to catch up to myself. I can't believe how many things I put off for senior year, and now they're all knocking on the door like, hey, you remember you're supposed to finish this?
You are busy. Very busy time.
Oh, yeah.
So has it been a difficult adjustment?
No, it's been absolutely wonderful. But I think I'm starting to get this little inkling that the bottom is going to drop out. Because the other day I was changing the garbage cans. I was taking the trash out. And I said, she used to do this.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
It was pitiful. So I think that some of this may, so I may start missing her after a couple more weeks.
Yeah. That's how I was. And those first few months were just relief.
Right. And then it got worse?
Well, yeah, I kind of started missing him after that, you know. But I knew I had to make the adjustment because, you know, he had gone in the military and he was in Germany, and I knew he was going to be gone at least 4 years.
Wow.
So, you know, so I'm not one to sit around doing a whole lot of crying.
Well, that puts some perspective because she's on Long Island, so she's 90 minutes away.
Right.
Oh, she's real close.
Yeah, but she said to me, she killed me. She said, "I'll see you Thanksgiving." That's what she said. "I'll see you Thanksgiving."
She'll see you before Thanksgiving. They always say that in their freshman year. You know, she'll see you before Thanksgiving. I miss Aaron. I miss my first one the day he left. Because he has that quiet presence. And Clint, I can't get him to leave. It's like, you know, college and everything. It's like, okay, well now you got the, you know, a living wage job at the college. You think maybe you're gonna move out?
Nowhere to go. It's hard out there.
Well, the problem, we're actually looking at even apartments, and in this area, a one bedroom runs you $1,500 a month plus your utilities.
That's not bad.
No, it's not bad, but $1,500 a month plus your utilities. That means the average student better be making at least $70,000 when they hit the street.
Yeah. And Kim said that
because you got
spoken like a New Yorker.
Right. Well, I mean,
yeah, because we're up to like 25 around here, right, Michelle?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, 15 people would be in line around the block for 15.
Well, I guess it depends on your income in New York. I would think that maybe the salary must be a lot higher. But, you know, if a person's making $50,000 or $60,000 a year, there's no way in God's earth they're going to pay $2,500 a month. You know what I'm saying? The numbers don't add up when you're single. After they take out all your taxes, you have to have a car, insurance. There's a thing called food, maintenance money, clothes to go on your back, incidentals. Well, for $2,500 a month, I would think that you would have to be making in New York at least $70,000, $80,000 as a student when you hit the street, at the very least. And then you're gonna be hungry because you got any kind of student loans. I mean, to add it up.
I think a lot of people would move back in with family. I think a lot of the folks are living with family.
They ain't got no choice. They have no choice.
None.
No choice.
None.
You know, because
there's a lot of homelessness.
Yes.
You know,
yeah, a lot of college students that are homeless. A lot. They have degrees in their pockets. Some even have advanced degrees because they went back to school. And I know some of them when the bottom fell out for shelter. You know what I'm saying? Because if you stay in school, then at that point, Barack Obama, that's one thing he did. It was very good. He raised the age in which you could stay on your parents' insurance. Mm-hmm. That was a tremendous help. Nobody wants to even, everyone looks at everything that he did not do. But no one really looks at some of the things that he did do. And that was a very, very good thing that he did, being that most couldn't find jobs. So not only did they not have a job, they would have no health care. Mm-hmm. And we all know that you only need one illness. A broken leg, it costs you $20,000 to go to the ER. They can ruin your life before you even get started.
We have one viewer, Nicole. I don't know if that's you out there or Gio or Joelle, but if it is, go back to the Session 7 group on Facebook and look at the top post for the link into the Hangout. It's a different link from the one I posted the other day. So in any case, it is 6:40, and so
You started?
Yeah, I think we probably should because, wait a minute, I just got a message. Let me see what that is. It is Nicole. And Nicole said was using the YouTube link, tech difficulties. Okay. So she has seen the current link. So I guess that means that she is on her way. So let's give it another minute or so. So who was saying what?
Oh, we were just talking about the cost of living and how I was just saying that Barack Obama has done some very good things that people don't tend to want to recognize. Actually, huge. And I thought raising the age limit, in which students to stay on their parents' insurance, was a huge thing.
Yeah.
But I can think of probably 50, 11 other things he's also done that are pretty big. But I just don't think anyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of
It's huge.
I don't know, purism going on, or this expectation of perfection in people. And if you're not perfect on every measure, then you're no good. And so we've seen that with Barack. We see
Yes.
it going on with Hillary, who is far from perfect, but also far superior to Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing it around, this movie Birth of a Nation, that I'm going to go see this Friday when it opens. Directed by Nate Parker. And so he was accused 17 years ago of rape. And so some Black women are boycotting the movie because of that. But, I don't know. I mean, I think the reality, whether we like it or not, is that we are all a bundle of strengths and weaknesses and contradictions and, good things and bad things. And this perfect person that we want just doesn't exist. So I don't know. All right, well, I'm still seeing one viewer, and I'm still not seeing Nicole. So when she said tech difficulties, maybe she's saying she.
Oh, somebody's coming down.
I was trying to use the I don't know what I was thinking, the YouTube link, and I don't know what
It's been a long break, I know.
Yeah, how are you all?
Great.
How are you?
Oh, I'm well. I'm glad we're back.
Yeah.
Glad to be back.
It was a little bit too long for me because it was hard for me to kind of make the adjustment to get back into doing all the prep work, and then YouTube and Google have gone through some changes of their own, and so I had to learn some new things, which I was not in the mood to learn.
I understand that.
Yeah. So we still have one viewer out there. I don't know who that is. Again, if it is Gio or Jane or Joelle, please go to the Session 7 group on Facebook and look at the top post for the link into the Hangout. So anyway, it is now 6:45. So Nicole, I want to go ahead and get started by welcoming everyone to Session 7 of the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. We are meeting, Session 7 means that this is our 7th book that we're reading together, and we'll be reading it starting today over the next 7 weeks through November 15th, 2016. You can find us here on Tuesday evening, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And, and I'm really excited because not only is this a great book that, I'm excited about delving into and going through with a fine-tooth comb in the way that we do, but also because I am expecting a friend of mine named James Walker, who he may be the viewer out there trying to get in, I don't know. But anyway, I want James to be my co-host for this session. So hopefully he can figure out how to get in. I tried to set him up with a test session, but it didn't work out. So he may be trying to figure out how to get in. But I'm also really excited because at 8 o'clock, I am expecting Bill Peters. And you guys might know Bill, who co-hosted a few months ago with me on the Revolutionary Love Leadership series. And Bill, of course, is a prolific poet who has recently been nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, which is no surprise because he's amazing. And so I'm expecting him at 8 o'clock. And Venita and I love his poetry so much that, we have been trying to get him to do something with us, just focusing on poetry. And so the way if you saw the agenda, you noticed I put his piece in purple and I put it on the agenda after the close of our meeting because I don't want anybody to feel pressured to stay for that next piece. But certainly we'd love to have you stay, if you have the time and interest. But in any case, Bill and I are going to kick it from 8 to 9 or so. And I'm not sure how much he'll actually be able to be here this session because he said he's got a lot of traveling going on in October. So, he may not be here every week, but we can do the poetic healing, whether he is here or not, and he'll join us when he can. So that is that. You can learn more about the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle on Google Plus or YouTube or Facebook. And my name is Michelle Odom. I am the host and the facilitator for tonight. And let's go around and introduce the rest of our conversationalists. Nicole, last in.
Hi there, I am joining from Houston, Texas. Nicole Wilson.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And Venita?
Hi, my name is Venita Walker, and I'm joining you from Cromwell, Connecticut. Welcome.
Welcome. And Kim?
Hi, I'm Kim Brandon, and I'm joining you from New York.
All right, welcome. So we normally have 2 other regular members, Georgette Moses and Joelle Jones. So I'm not sure what's going on with them tonight. As I said, we've been on a long break, about 2 months. And so we're all out of the habit of doing this and need to get back in the habit. But hopefully they will come in shortly. And then one of the things, I don't know if you guys started reading the book?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I think it's in the introduction, she talks about, she has the excerpt that talks about the traditional Maasai greeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm saying Maasai right, and I don't know if I'm going to say the greeting right. So feel free to correct me if you know better. But the greeting of the warriors is Kaserian Ingera,
Mm-hmm.
and the traditional response, which means, and how are the children? And the traditional response is, all the children are well. And so I thought um, for this session, I wanted to try to maybe get us in the habit of asking that question, right at the beginning, while we're doing our introductions. And, if you feel like you can say all the children are well, say it. If you feel like you have to say something else, say it. So I'm going to come back to that in a second, and just say I did post the schedule for the rest of the session, and we'll talk about that later. But I put in some tentative assignments based on your personalities. I'm pulling a Randy, and so so I'm hoping that that you guys will be available on those weeks. And so we switched over to Joelle as our timekeeper, but it's hard, Venita. It's hard to keep the time if you're not here. So so will you be our timekeeper for tonight?
Of course.
All right. Thank you. And and the other change on our regular agenda is, we had started doing the Find the Feminism piece last time, but this book, and the book that we're reading is Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, America's Legacy of Enduring Injury and Healing, by Dr. Joy DeGruy. It's not a book about feminism, and I'm good at stretching and finding an angle, but really, I think it would be a disservice to try to make this into something that it's not. But because what it is significant and worthy of our complete focus. And so under her name, it says Be the Healing. And it really is a book. She, of course, is a psychologist, and it's a book about healing. And one of the things, or the big thing that she wants to encourage in African Americans is healing around our self-esteem. And so instead of doing Find the Feminism, I want to hold a few minutes at the end of the meeting each week to focus on nurturing our self-esteem. And then of course at 8 o'clock, Bill's after party. So let me go back to the question of how are the children? How are the children? Anybody?
I don't think the children are doing well right now, but hopefully we can help them to do better.
Okay. Anybody?
Yeah, I agree. At just, being on social media and kind of looking at what, and I would kind of looking at specific demographics within our populations, looking at the population as a whole, but then certain groups in the Black community, and just kind of looking at fight videos are being shared, and and what's disheartening to me, because I've been doing research on racialized violence, And so when we start seeing young Black girls in schools being people taking frustration out on them, even if the student is non-compliant, right? But the young girl was seated, and we watch a police officer trying to, yank her out of the seat. It's just, and knowing that that's another video that's being shared and reaching multiple audiences through memes, through the actual video, splicing and cutting video. It's just interesting to me that the children, it seems, are dealing with violence from so, different ends, viewing the violence, internalizing violence, and sometimes being violent toward one another, as the author indicates, when the young man wants to fight her son because of the gaze, he looked at him wrong. So I'm with Venita, and I'm just saying the children are not well. They are not well. We have work to do.
Thank you.
And I think I would say that children are fine, because I want to speak it into existence and put action behind my words.
Mm-hmm. Kim, can you adjust your camera a little bit so we see more of your face, please?
Like that?
Right, yeah, much better. Thank you. Okay. Well, I like Kim's optimism, but I'm a realist at heart, and I do think that the children need our attention. I'm thinking about a video I posted this week, and really, I don't know if it was a joke or not, but it was like the man on the street kind of interviews, but it was on a college campus. And the interviewer was asking college students, Black and white, male and female, questions like, who won the Civil War? And for the most part, they didn't know. They didn't know who won the Civil War. They didn't know who our vice president is. They didn't.
I don't laugh. It's not even funny, but I don't know.
But it was pretty frightening. But they knew who all the wives of Brad Pitt. And so if that isn't indicative of what is happening and has happened to the children, America's got a lot of answering to do.
I like the answer of I think the answer was all the children are fine. And I'm not saying all the children are fine, I'm saying the children are fine, which means that some of them are not. So I like that at some point I'd love to be able to say all the children are fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to talk more about that particular passage. In fact, it may even be the first question that comes up, or it's somewhere in there. So anyway, let's go on. I'll read the summary. And tonight, we are focused on the foreword, prologue, and introduction of post-traumatic slave syndrome. And early in the book, the author shares his definition of the meaning of Sankofa. We must return and claim our past in order to move toward our future. It is an understanding who we were that will free us to embrace who we are now. In the foreword to Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, written by Randall Robinson, he notes that African Americans are often urged to forget our past, but Joy DeGruy is among those voices who counsel us to ignore this disastrous advice. Dr. DeGruy includes an excerpt from a speech by Reverend Dr. Patrick T. O'Neill at the start of the prologue, where he shares a traditional Maasai greeting that demonstrates the high value placed on children's well-being. DeGruy then discusses the lingering scars on victims and victors left by cycles of oppression that rob us of our humanity. These cycles are broken periodically, she notes, after much work that begins with a process of healing. In the introduction, DeGruy lays out the purpose of this book by sharing a few modern examples of how African Americans treat each other, tracing such behavior to roots in enslavement. She considers the role others play in helping to develop our sense of self-worth, as well as the impact of sustained trauma on its victims. So, Venita, you want to do the first section, forward, please?
Yes, and how do you pronounce Joy's last name?
I believe it's DeGruy.
DeGruy. I don't want
to. I'm sorry. Can I? I'm sorry. I need to interrupt quick. I have been. I don't know what I don't have. So I don't have the what you're reading. I don't
the
know.
agenda?
Perhaps, yeah. So what I have is just simply what I saw was just simply our names and the dates in which we were hosting. So I just thought, I was like, oh, I know how we did it the one time when we kind of found passages. So I've been thinking all this time like, oh, we're using that format. So I'm not sure.
Well,
Was it email?
If you go to the session 7,
okay. I'm sorry.
On Facebook, and look on the discussion tab. It should be not too far down. In fact, it should be the second item down, the agenda.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Venita.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Oh my God, I overlooked this. I like, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No problem. We're all greasing our wheels, getting back in motion.
Oh my gosh, okay.
No problem. So we are in an introduction now. I kind of lost my place.
Yeah, in the key point number 1, the forward.
Okay. Points and discussion questions. Forward, holding on. A need to know about Africa is not only normal, asserts Robinson, but indeed is a sign of healthy intellect, psyche, and soul. Dr. DeGruy, essential thesis is that slavery, the most brutal and lucrative of America's institutions, is a historical watershed event regarding which Black Americans will be lost and dangerously ill-served to soften memory, but toward which they should indeed purposefully stride as an area of rigorous study and research. Dr. DeGruy helps us to understand how we relate to the world, as well as how we relate to each other, and argues and urges us to know and embrace our past in all its fullness. For therein lies our only hope for a healthy, self-affirming present and future. Question number 1. Have you ever encountered anyone in your life who encouraged you to move on and let go of the past when it comes to Black history? If so, what was the thrust of this argument, and were you persuaded by it? Why or why not?
Okay, thank you. Anybody?
Yes, I think I've encountered that quite a few times, actually. I've encountered from Black folk Black progressives. And I use the word progressive kind of lightly. And also from white folk. You know, that I guess it's kind of complicated because from Black folk, it's that I've encountered on a few occasions because it's in the past. We have to move forward. And from white folk, it was like kind of almost, well, you know, this well. I remember one conversation with one of the parents when my children were growing up, my first son, and she was really amazed that she thought we had moved past this, you know, and during our conversation, I remember her saying, and so I don't understand why aren't Black folk moving past it? So I think for a lot of white folks, they just don't understand what the issue is, you know. And I think it's sometimes I think some of it they don't understand, and some of it they just simply don't want to hear it. So it's like, well, okay, how does it affect me? More or less, you know, how does it affect me as a white person? So I can get past it. So why don't you? So I don't know. And for Black folk, I just think it's just a host of reasons why I find that I've been in conversations where they want me to just move on. You know, mostly because they don't want to remember. Not because they don't know, but they don't want to remember.
Okay, thank you.
I know I was not persuaded either to move on. To put that there. No, I was not persuaded from anyone to move on.
I agree. I would say I definitely agree with, mainly when I have notions from white Americans about moving on and the past is in the past, is because there's a tendency to want to cater to white guilt, and so as to not awaken this notion of let's just move on. What's the use in remembering? I wasn't the one who did that. I didn't even live. I wasn't even alive at that time. I've heard some of those arguments, which I think are very facetious, because we know that this is also rooted in white privilege and rooted in, for me, a case for reparations. And so if we're silent about this pain and this historical pain and the struggle that, in the past is still present, the issues that Black Americans continue to have, then, what changes, what gives? And for Blacks who kind of go the whole, let's just move beyond that route, I think it's more or less them being accommodationist, assimilationist, and their material comfort is far more important than those critical, or at least that's what they've expressed to me, kind of like the material comfort take precedence over those types of critical conversations. And so it's kind of like, well, let me just get my money, and you're not going to change what people think of us, and so forth. And like at my university, when some teenagers were verbally taunted with the N-word, and so it really bothered me, and yet in an ironic way fascinated me when I heard the arguments that white people gave. They were saying, like, y'all gotta, you can't, when people say the N word, you can't break down over that. You can't, I mean, those are just words and people have the freedom of speech. So, so as I'm reading this text, I'm taking, all that in and thinking about all these arguments, but it's so difficult to move on. Moving on is just, for me anyway, is difficult.
So you have not been persuaded by any of that?
I've not been persuaded.
Kim, how about you?
I guess in terms of Black people, I think a lot of people say, "Oh, she's into that Black stuff," or "she's militant," and there's so many ways that I'm described where I love being Black. I love being a Black woman and all that means, and so I take offense to me wanting to know who I am and value that as a Black thing. That I'm militant, although I am a little bit.
We know. I don't want to say nothing, Kim.
Huh?
I didn't want to say anything, Kim.
I'm gonna tell the truth. But with white people, like I belong to my block association, and one of the members says that for the white homeowners, he calls them investors if they don't live in the property. But for Black homeowners that don't live in the property, he calls them absentee landlords.
Wow.
And so I called him on it, and I just said, I take offense to it, and I don't mix words in mixed company at all. And so I am one that knows that the term white people was invented in the 1860s or 1680s, I'm sorry. And before people were Dutch, they were Italians, they were English, they were French, they were not white people.
Right.
So don't you dare think that I'm going to say I'm going to roll out a royal carpet because you consider yourself white. Because now everybody's trying to be white. Even Indians and East Indians are saying that they are white because they don't want to be under this other umbrella. And so has anybody persuaded me? No, I think that it has caused me to seek out more understanding of what this systematic racism is, because that there's no such thing as race if all of us come from the same human line. So no, nobody has as a matter of fact, now I feel like it's so critical for African Americans, Native Americans, people of color to dispel this myth of white people. Because we're in trouble. We're in hot water. We're in hot water, and before you know it, like Venita was saying earlier, we can't even afford a rent.
That's right.
And I know that doesn't seem like it's linked, but it really is. It's like all of a sudden there's the master slave syndrome happening here again. So I'll stop before Venita tells me that's time.
15 seconds left.
Thank you.
Yeah, 15 seconds left, Kim.
Wow.
Well, I'm probably gonna need it.
Hold up. Okay.
No, I agree with everybody. So I was trying to think about coming at it from a slightly different angle. Certainly, I've heard this business about moving on and letting go for a very long time. I've never understood it or been persuaded by it, but I have tried to understand where people were coming from. And when we got into this language of post-racialism, I really felt that we had gone off the deep edge. But then, of course, with with the election of Obama and all of the things that have happened, the police killings and everything that has happened during his presidency, I think that hopefully it has made it plain that we are not post-racial, and the past is not in the past, but very much with us. So I do think it is a heartening sign that they have put up the new Smithsonian Museum of African American History. And I know, like in the Twitterverse, there have been some white people that have expressed their antagonism toward the museum, but we anticipate that. But I do think that it is significant and important that as a country, those resources have been invested in preserving pieces that recall our history, because there's this ongoing effort to change the past and deny the past, that goes on with the textbooks and just to rewrite history. And so, so I think that's a good sign. So let's go on to question B. Kim, since you like that question, why don't you do that one? And in fact, I think that you brought up this expression in one of our previous books. Remember? The cats, How Are the Children?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, so why don't you do section B?
Oh, okay. Dr. DeGruy includes an excerpt from a speech by Reverend Dr. Patrick T. O'Neill at the start of the prologue, where she shares a traditional Maasai greeting that demonstrates the high value placed on children's well-being. The greeting of the Maasai warriors is, and this is Kasarian Ingara. How are the children? The reply is, all the children are well, meaning peace and safety prevail, that the priorities of protecting the young, the powerless are in place, that Maasai society has not forgotten its reason for being, its proper functions and responsibilities. Life is good. Question 2. Do African Americans today place a high value on the health and welfare of children, in your opinion? What evidence do you see? And 3, how does modern American culture influence our ability to care for the children?
Okay, thank you. Anybody? How are the children?
I think for me, I'm kind of crestfallen that last year we were trying to raise money to save a school, the Sankofa School, that was one of the last independent Black schools here in Brooklyn. And the founder of the school, Sister Ali, those students in that school, they were 3 or 4 grades higher in terms of their learning than public school. And so when you walked in the school, there was our faces, and they taught us about us. And it got to the point where she couldn't afford to keep the doors open because a host of reasons. And then when you got the public out to donate, it did not cover what she was trying to do. And that school should have been replicated as opposed to closed. So that really hurt me, because we really worked hard to kind of keep that school open. But at the same time, I'm sure across this country there are many schools like that I'm not aware of. And so I always try to have a broader perspective to say that if I'm of this mind, then there have to be more of me out there that are doing wonderful things with our children. And in terms of the media, oh God, I think that's the worst thing that's happened to us. I don't see the images of us that are positive anywhere. When I watch TV with my family, I don't see any positive images of us. And so you really have to seek them out. And so if you're sitting next to somebody who wants to be entertained, and you know, my daughter says to me, "Not another documentary, please, just not another documentary." And so it's hard. And we even wrote the Disney Channel just to say that every African American character is either a buffoon or angry woman or sex star. And this is 2016, and this is what our children are ingested when they look at this. And don't get me started on the housewives and all of that, that rap reality stuff. So there's some positive things out there. You just really have to look at it. And if you're working 6 jobs and you don't have the time to find it, it's hard for you. It's even harder for your children. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Do African Americans place a high value on the health and welfare of our children?
I think those of us that have our priorities in order are doing wonderful things. Because what you value is also a part of your priorities. However, I think some of us don't know what our priorities are. You know, I just don't think we know how to prioritize what's important and what's not, such as our children. And the reason I'm trying to be very careful how I say that, because I don't want to sound negative. I think it's about just not knowing. You know, if you're so inundated with so much stuff from the media. I mean, let's face it, this Donald Trump person just said that we're poor, neighborhoods poor, don't have no jobs, everybody on drugs. What you got to lose? Now, some baby that doesn't have a parent that's going to actually have, I lose my children, I would have them watch it while I'm sitting there explaining, you know, to them exactly what Satan looks like. And this is what I'm telling you. But a lot of people don't have this. I think it's a matter of just not knowing. I don't think it's not that we don't put high value on the health and welfare of our children. You know, I think it's a host of reasons. But I think we want to put high value. Because we're black folks. And black folks that I've known always put high value on the welfare, the health and welfare of the children, whether they had money, whether they didn't. You know, I just think that this is so much going on. We just don't know. We just kind of lost just through all it's so complicated. But I think we do. Here. Even if it doesn't come out here, I think we do here. And I think we do here.
Yeah. I would say that it's oh gosh, all around me. I mean, this is a collective pain that's still very much a part of our culture, and like we're stuck between, you know, that melancholy and that desire to not allow ourselves to mourn, and then the actual mourning. And so we're just in this kind of occupying this weird space. And so the manifestations of that space, our health, you know, always kind of linked to wealth. And we already know what's generally happened in this country in terms of class formation and Black Americans. We get shut out. We are, you know, as Daylin English says, a strategic anachronism. We're just kind of always behind time. And the older I get, I don't know. I'm in mourning. I'm sad. I'm saddened. It's sad to know that one of the poets here in Houston had just turned 40 and had a major stroke. I shared with you all, my husband was 42 when he had his first heart attack. First heart attack. Something's wrong. I'm even more sad to admit that I had to join a running group for me to understand the implications of, when I say Black Lives Matter, I'm also, my health is a component of that. And it's worth fighting for. And so I don't know. I'm in a state of mourning, and the question about the modern American culture influencing our ability to care for the children. What happens when parents and the extended family, when we're bogged down in depression and the sadness, the melancholy, the mourning? What legacies do the children inherit? And then how does, modernity, or if we want to call it post-modernity, what impact does it, or how is it, influencing these issues? I'm just in mourning. And I don't see things changing quickly enough. So.
Thank you.
It's definitely some problems.
I'm sure, Nicole, you've heard me talk about the 500-year plan. We lost Nicole. But really, I talk about it because it is a key for me in not getting too depressed to the point of dysfunction over our situation.
Hello?
Hi.
Tech difficulties, I'm sorry.
Because change really, now I'm getting echo since you came back in, Nicole. Can you go out and come back in?
Okay, sure will.
Change really, it's such a long process. I posted something today. It's an article about a book about the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago.
Still echoing?
So try muting.
Okay.
Try muting your mic. Okay. That works. 2,000 years ago, and it's looking at wealth and inequality and military operations, and how so much of how government functions today is modeled and the same as what was happening 2,000 years ago. Because really, as much as we want change to be a swift process, the reality is it's not. That's not how human beings move. And just as you were saying, Nicole, earlier, when we were talking about, when you were talking about people that have decided to put their own economic comfort above holding on to historical memory. These kinds of reasons, people are not willing, don't have the courage, don't have the commitment to do the kinds of radical things that might lead to some change. And so all we have left is whatever happens on an incremental basis. And so I remind myself of that, really, because so that I don't sink too deeply into mourning.
Excuse me, would you like to have more time, Michelle?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Since I don't know where I'm going with this.
Okay, another 2 minutes. Here we go.
All right, but no, I think, I think that's it. That Change is, who is calling? This is Bill Peters. Go on. Where's Nicole? I was going to ask Nicole to do the next question. Hold on a second, guys.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. These tech difficulties.
We can't see you anymore. We can't see you though.
Okay, let me think. Oh my gosh. Technical. Okay.
There you are.
Okay, so I'm reading the Sweet and Sour introduction. Sweet and Sour. Okay. The author reflects on her trip through southern Africa, where she takes note of the sweetness of the children, their level of generosity, and their well-mannered behavior in Lesotho. It took some time to readjust to life in the U.S. and led to reflections on the ways in which Black American children relate to each other, children at play, our capacity to praise our children, and as adults, the ways in which we demean the accomplishments of our peers and struggle over leadership in Black organizations. There was an incident with, is it DeGruy? I've been pronouncing it DeGruy. How are you all pronouncing her last name? I'm sorry.
DeGruy.
DeGruy. Okay, son, Nadia. Where a boy from the neighborhood wanted to beat him up. I want to know what he's staring at. Does he got some kind of eyeball problem? Queried the child. She compares this query to the way in which young men in South Africa greet each other with, I see you. This was an illuminating moment for her. The gap between Africans and African Americans was suddenly stark and clear. Somewhere along the way, African American children have become so emotionally fragile that they cannot often withstand the implications associated with a simple gaze. With her understanding of the role that significant others play in our sense of worth, she concluded the angry child was mad at Black people like my son, who can see the emptiness in him, his vacant esteem. Number 4. Have you ever noticed any differences in African American children compared to white children, or differences in the parenting styles of Black and white parents? Discuss.
Thank you. And Nicole, mute again for a second.
Okay.
I talk. Okay. And let me introduce Bill Peters. Say hello, Bill Peters.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Bill.
You know you're going to have to hold your face up so we can see you. Okay.
Okay. See me now?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
I'll come back to you for a fuller introduction at 8 o'clock, but let us barrel through with where we are. And so,
Sure.
Nicole, on question 4, did you want to start us off on that?
Okay, that's fine. Am I still echoing?
You're not, but
Okay. So as
And I'll be right back.
Okay. As wow, this was a great question. As a parent myself, and when I started teaching high school students, I did notice the difference between the Black parents of students I taught and the white parents. Whereby, and I don't know if some of this was racially motivated. I suggest it probably was. But I noticed that the white parents, they, just thought that their children just automatically presumed their GT and, just so smart and talented and wanted to know, do I have a master's degree and so forth. Okay, I only need a bachelor's degree to be a teacher, but what's that about? And they were just overly protective, in my opinion, and very much so willing to figure out how to navigate the power structures in the institution to, I sometimes say, manipulate the system, but to get what they felt that their children needed. Whereas my Black parents, did not do that. Sometimes I would even have to encourage them, speak up, go there. But it was kind of like this acceptance of authority. As a parent myself, when I was reading the part about the parents at the bank and the children, and the author saying that she noticed that the Black mom was like, no, you stay right here. And I do that as well, because the truth is our children's bodies are policed far more than white children's bodies are policed. And I don't know how to negotiate that. I know my children understand that, but at this point, and especially when you wake up and another day, another Black man or Black woman is executed by the state, I just simply don't know how to navigate that. I don't know how to negotiate it. And so I think keeping our children close to us is just a way to attempt to protect them. So I'm guilty. I do that same thing, and I give that talk before we go. Stay right here. Don't move. Don't touch anything. I'm doing the same thing, my mom did. And it's, it's sad to say.
Do you think about it as being rooted in slavery?
You know what? I could, yeah. Well, I don't think, right now it's just kind of like a knee-jerk reaction. I just do it. But reading this book, I could definitely see the roots of that. What I would initially say was, I'm doing what my mom did, which is perhaps what her mom did, and so on and so forth. But there's this trepidation as a parent that our children are not safe in this nation, and the double standard of citizenship, I know, is driving that, which is right back, connecting us to enslavement and those issues. I'm guilty, and I don't know. I don't know what else to do, because
there are no easy answers.
Yeah, there are no easy answers.
Well,
thank you.
Not too bad, Nicole. Don't feel bad, Nicole. I'm guilty.
Nicole, mute your mic, please.
Oh, okay. Let me mute.
Yes, I'm guilty of the same thing, and I'm unapologetic.
Go ahead.
Okay? I'm not trying to do it any different. I don't retard my children's growth in any way. I encourage their growth, and I'm always there for them, and I propel them forward. But I will not apologize for keeping my children close. I have always kept them close, and I will continue to keep them close, and it's okay. Because I'm not a white woman. I'm not a white mother, so I can't just have Clintons running all around here like this. No, you stay right here. And that's where I'm keeping them. And I have no problem with it. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Kim or Bill?
From I have one daughter, and I've always had this parenting style that people need to watch me as opposed to watch her. She can run around a little more than most African American children, but I'm not asleep. So if you come for her, that means you're coming for me. And so I protect her ability, and I protected her childhood and her opportunity to have a little bit more room to be free. I don't regret that, but that meant that my life had to be put on hold so that I could always make sure that if someone decided that they wanted to put her back into that Black child space, that they would have to get me on board. And I was not on board. But then there were times where I had to look, just because, here's what I really want to say. There is the look that I have because my daughter has gone to predominantly white schools, and because we wanted a great education. So she comes into two different worlds. So then when we're around family, that's a whole different ball game. And I tell my daughter, you're multicultural, so that when you are with my family, you're going to respect them. You're going to treat them in a way that they are accustomed. So there's no calling my brothers and sisters by their first name or anything like that. And my daughter would get into a lot of hot water because she would say, Derek, as opposed to Uncle Derek. And that's fatal in my family. Just that little thing. So I wanted to give her as much rope as possible, but I also wanted to train her of what this country might have in store for her. So, but this is the last thing. I now live in a predominantly white neighborhood. You know, a couple of years ago, I didn't move. The neighborhood moved. Mm-hmm. And so now when I see that they have segregated a public school right down the street from me, it's so sad to go in that school and see the black kids in one class and the white kids in what they call the gifted class. And when those parents walk by my house, and they're always educating their kids, they're always talking to them. Whereas we are running sometimes, come on, hurry up, little one, hurry up, as opposed to stopping to have these dialogues. So I hope some of that made sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm more like you, Kim. You know, I was trying to do something different with my son, and I didn't really get worried about it until he got to the age where he was learning to drive. And so when I would send him out into the world by, driving while black, you know, without me being there and not being sure that he had sense enough to know that it's not wise to jump up in a police officer's face the way you might jump up in mine. He made it though. He made it. So he actually had more biculturalism than I realized, but those were the years that really scared me. But I was trying to do something different, and I think it partly comes from the way that I grew up, moving all across the country and seeing how the masses of black people were living and versus the masses of middle class white folks, and you know, and really feeling like, well, if we want to have freedom, we have to teach it. We have to take it. Nobody can give it to us, you know, and you know, when we say things like Black Lives Matter or you know, stop killing us or whatever, it just has always felt to me like until we decide that we are worthy and valuable and our freedom and dignity matter to us just like they do to anybody else, that we'll never have it. And so I was fortunate, I think, to have parents that allowed me to speak my mind. And so I wanted to pass that on to my child because I do think that that's one of the things that white parents do. And, you know, you'll often hear black people say, well, if that was my child, you know, I'd have smacked the white off that face, you know, something like that. But I do think it's important that if we want our children to feel like they matter, that we have to allow and nurture them to have some voice. But it can, you know, like I said, it can go too far. And, you know, I know my parents questioned whether or not they had given me too much freedom. But I think that's where it starts. And you know, I noticed, I felt like when the Occupy movement was going on, you know, if they didn't hurry up and fix this economy, those white folks were going to tear this mother down because they believe they deserve a certain quality of life. So,
would you like to have more time? Excuse me, Michelle. Your time.
oh no, I 1 minute, 1 minute. I believe they deserve it, but to me, that has to be instilled, and it has to be instilled at a very young age. You matter. You deserve it. You know, we will give up the fight, and I think it's because we don't really believe we deserve all the benefits of freedom. So I'm done. I don't know where Bill is.
May I interject quickly there, Michelle? I was thinking about what James Baldwin says, though, but he says that when at that point, that white Americans, though, they believe wholeheartedly in the mythology of this nation, and so some of the buy-in and this taking, kind of this ownership mentality, or that feeling entitled, I deserve a better life, is, kind of instructed and informed by, shall I say, the buy-in into the mythology that we can't, for the most part, Blacks couldn't possibly, buy into this, because we know that we're still contending with this, the paradox of citizenship. So I just kind of also see that as this myth of America and their patriotism and so forth. This concept that this is their nation, that when the amalgamation of whiteness happened, they became white and not just what, but white Americans. And so I wonder if that is also a component of it, us giving up the fight, because we get this symbolism and the signs constantly telling us this is not our nation.
Right. Bill, did you want to weigh in on this question? Have you ever noticed any differences in African American children compared to white children, or differences in the parenting styles?
There's a lot to be said, and a lot that's already been said about it. And humble opinion, I think that whites tend to feel more privileged about who they are. Mentality carries still, whether it's parenting or going to the supermarket or standing, whatever, that transcends their every action, and they think that they're privileged. In their mind, that's just the way it's supposed to be. Whereas I think that, as Black folks, we're, to be granted, privilege, so to speak.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to add something. Both of my sons are very outspoken men, and were outspoken children. And when I said what I kept them by my hip, it wasn't where they didn't have freedom of voice or movement. I mean, I kept them near my hip so I could watch their well-being. Both of my sons are boisterous. They both grew up in predominantly, like 99, almost at some point, % white Caucasian areas. They went to school with all white folk. And what I mean by kept them by my hip is I was watching the folk more than I was watching them.
Yeah.
And I can watch the folk from a distance if I know that they're right here, close. I can keep that eye over there. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to make a correction. So it's not that I retard, they don't have a voice. Both my sons are very outspoken men. And I encourage that. I'm an outspoken mother. But I had to watch the folk. When, a few of you, I had to kind of
I guess, Venita, I think there's such an important distinction Because every time people talk about how we're watching our kids, it's always as if we're trying to hold them back, as opposed to, no, we are here protecting them.
It's protection.
So I love that distinction.
Yeah, I had to make that clear because I am a very, I've always had a lot of mobility growing up myself. And I've given my children that mobility. They are not retarded. I don't muffle their voices. Their opinions count. But I had to keep them over here so I could watch out over there, especially when you're in a predominantly white, all-white school, all-white neighborhood. You'd be crazy not to do it any other way. How could you, Because they are Black children. And they have been confronted, and I just had to, I want to just make that clear, that I never muffled their voice.
And I wonder, it just, and I just my imagination here. I just wonder if you all were in, I call it the Southern racial order. But in one of the Southern states, I just wonder how much are we influenced, the regional influence. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Southern racial order.
The influence because, the Southern racial terror is lit. Yeah. And so, it's spooky. It's crazy. And so, so I'm just wondering, about those North and South, the kind of differences there. I'm going to take that question to some of my friends to try to see, are we far more protective living in, Southern states?
Probably.
And having, these examples like James Byrd, who was, dragged for miles and miles and placed on the back of a pickup truck right here in Texas, not so far from Houston, Jasper, Texas. It's the racial terror here.
But let's move on, because I want to try to get us to at least this question 5. But Nicole, I'm sure that I could not have done the Southern experience. Point D, children at play, adults in the workplace, as well as other examples revealing evidence of past trauma include parents feeling the need to protect their children from the police, issues of skin color and hair texture continuing to dominate discussions regarding beauty and physical preference, the excessive focus on material accumulation, people needing, wanting, and dreaming, yet fearing they will not succeed. Most of all, frustration and anger, at times even rage, feelings that seem to dominate many of our lives. Television, newspapers, magazines, music videos, and movies all project negative images of Black people. But what is not often addressed is the role our history has played in producing these negative perceptions, images, and behaviors, in large part related to transgenerational adaptations associated with the past traumas of slavery and ongoing oppression. I have termed this condition transgenerational adaptations associated with the past traumas of slavery and ongoing oppression. I have termed this condition post-traumatic slave syndrome, or PTSS. The author's goal in writing this book is to examine these adaptations with an eye towards identifying today those that limit us and those that make us stronger. So question 5 is, do you believe our past experiences exert an influence on our present behavior? Discuss. We're on question 5. So, just picking up, Nicole,
mute.
Yes.
Let me mute.
I don't know what it is, you know. But picking up on what Nicole was raising about the difference between northern and southern culture, um, you know, I do think clearly there is a significant difference. Um, and you know, it is the Southerners that led the civil rights movement. And they did it in a nonviolent way, which I believe is the only way that it could have been done. Because I think the reality is that we are just outmanned and outgunned in this context. And so, you know, if we want to try to go mano a mano, it's not an equal fight. And so I think at any point, Black people could easily be taken out. And so by approaching it from the non-violent perspective, that was taking the moral high ground in an era when there was still some morality, I think, to draw on in the country. And so, you know, and so it worked to the extent that it worked. But I think that, you know, on this issue of taking freedom and teaching freedom, that if there's not going to be some kind of response like the civil rights movement, then we really are giving white people the freedom to be as evil, as murderous, as barbaric, as whatever they want to be, if they know that we are not going to respond in some way. And so, you know, I do think that Northerners have a lot more mouth. I don't think we have the moral high ground, though. But even with all that mouth, it has not solved, none of it has solved the fundamental problem. So I don't know what I'm saying. I'm rambling here, so somebody else take it, please. Question 5. Do you believe our past exerts an influence on our present behavior? And my answer to that question is yes.
I definitely say yes. I don't know what is tradition. What things about me are positive or negative. All I know is this is how I was raised, and I use it to the best of my ability. I like this joke where the mother always cuts the roast and puts it into 2 pans, and so when the daughter gets married, she bakes her roast, she bakes it in 2 pans too. And so the husband asked her, "Why'd you do that?" And so the daughter says, "I don't know, my mother always did it." And so the husband asked the mother-in-law, "Why do you cut the roast in half?" And she says, "We didn't have a bigger pot." So I don't know what I'm doing or not doing that is based on a tradition of slavery, a tradition of, and the thing I think that scares me the most, more so than this long tradition of slavery, is more the Jim Crow and the Black Wall Streets, where if you dare to be more successful than somebody else, and they notice that you have a piano and they don't, then you have the possibility of your whole town, what you built, being bombed. You know what I'm saying? So there's a yardstick that says don't go above this in this country for us. Because you can see how you get so successful and then all of a sudden they come after you. So I think that is what I find keeps me in this state of internalized racism, is that all those fears of what if I got too powerful? Would that end my life? And that's what I struggle with most.
And I think that's right, that for the most part, we don't know, what the source of our behaviors are. And that's the great thing I think about this book, is that she's looking at our behavior that is linked toward how others treat us. She's looking at our behavior in terms of how we treat each other. She's looking at African American behavior as compared to African behavior, so that we can begin to try to sort of consciously sort out why we do the things that we do. I was thinking the other day about the whole funeral process, and when my mom passed in 2006, there was a lot of drama and trauma, which is actually not even over yet a decade later. And but a few years after she passed, I was talking to a young man in Jersey City who's a funeral director. And he said to me that the difference between Africans and African Americans, in that when an African dies, they have everything. If an African is in America and they die, they have everything planned in advance. The whole family has a pot. The whole large extended family has a pot of money that they contribute to, so that everybody that's here in America can fly back home to Africa and bury the body there. And, and he said it's just a well organized boom, 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 boom. But he said when the African Americans come in, it's all this drama.
That sounds like a good book.
So I don't know why we do the things we do. But that's Dr. DeGruy's point. We need to figure it out. Some of what we're doing is just counterproductive. Anybody else on question 5? And it is 8:04.
Yes. If you excuse me for a few minutes, if everyone's done, I can stop the time clock. If someone continues, Michelle, would you please pick it up? I'll be right back.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything on question 5? Okay. Well, let me, we're going to skip question 6. I was so proud of myself because I had such a small number of questions. I thought surely we can get all of this done, right? But no. So let me go ahead and introduce William S. Peters Sr., Just Bill, who told me that he has recently been nominated for a Pulitzer Prize and won a number of other awards for his poetry. I've known Bill for several years. I was attracted actually to his poetry. He thinks I was attracted to him, but it actually was his work. And we have been friends since I think 2010. And he co-hosted the Revolutionary Love Leadership series with me earlier this year. And a part of what we did at the end of those sessions was took a few minutes for Bill and a friend of his, Sharif, to read some of their original works. And so we want to kind of recapture that and build on that a little bit, Bill. And I'm committed to being here till at least 9 o'clock. And so I have told people that if they want to read their own poetry or read someone else's poetry, that this is the hour they can do it. But I really want you to kind of lead this segment of our meetings. And I told people earlier that you may not be able to be here with us every day, this month, but that we're going to keep up the poetry piece whether you're here or not. Hopefully you'll be here more often than not. But, why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about those awards that you won and what's going on with you these days.
Okay. William S. Peters Sr. I'm a writer. I've been writing since 1966. Poet, humanitarian, social activist, father, grandfather. Shit on the personal side, as far as the advocation of writing, and all those particular type of social activities. We publish a magazine. I'm also a book publisher. We ran a race years and, things of that nature, and starting to get some notoriety, I guess you would call it. And last year I attended the International Poetry Festival where I was a speaker, and that was in Kosovo. And I was named Poet Laureate and won what they call the Golden Grape Award. Here I've been invited to, I'm going on the 6th keynote speaker of that International Poetry Festival. So all I can say is God is good in that respect. Share the words. And same thing applies here, to have the opportunity to share words and share thoughts and, share the spirit of important to me is an opportunity and it's an honor.
Well, it's an honor for us. And Kim and Nicole, why don't you two introduce yourselves and tell Bill a little bit about you? Kim?
Hi, Bill. Thank you. Thank you so much. What an honor and a treat. Thank you for joining us and sharing your work and your story. I'm Kim Brandon. I'm a writer. I'm a novelist and a poet. And I have a teenage daughter, and I really enjoy this book group. It's been just so wonderful for me. That's me.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicole?
Okay, hi there. Can you hear me?
Hello.
You all hear me? Hi. Okay. Hi there. Hi, Bill. Been having tech difficulties all night, but my name is Nicole Wilson. I am joining from Houston, Texas, and I don't know. I think I'm just the average person who loves to read books and Black women's studies. I am not a poet. I'm not a creative writer. I prefer to see myself as more of a literary critic. So
Okay.
I do like to analyze it, the written word, so in the creative written word. So yeah.
And Nicole, you were or are a doctoral student in what field?
At rhetoric and composition and like a cross between Africana and women's studies. So dual certificates in Africana studies and women's studies. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, Nicole,
Nicole.
you fell.
Oh, let me mute.
Yeah. So we always have some little technical things going on, and so tonight it's the feedback on Nicole's system. And Bill, there seems like there's kind of like a lag or internet delay going on with your system. I hear you okay, but it's a little bit slow. So, but
Yeah, I
anyway,
don't know what that is.
why don't you take it away? Take us where you want us to go. I'm gonna mute my mic for a minute or so, but go ahead, Bill, and just do your thing.
I don't know where to go. I mean, we could start with sharing words. That would be nice. Um, I just want to mention to Venita and to you, these are the books that I sent you today. And this is
Okay.
the book that accompanies the Pulitzer nomination. You have to have the current
Wow.
book in order to be nominated.
Thank you.
Stories and Fables. This is our parables. Here's for you, Venita.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Thank you.
My opus. This is like 440 pages of spiritual poetry, and this is the book that was featured last year at the International Poetry Festival. So, I sent it. They're in the mail. They'll be in the mail shortly.
Bill, tell them how many books you've written. Come on now.
I actually lost count. I'm over 40. You know,
Nice.
I stopped counting.
So we need 37
You know,
more or
just like
38 more books, Bill?
somewhere 40, about 41, 42. I don't know. You know, 43. It might be more. I don't know. But it's not worth counting. Then there's over 50 anthologies that I'm a part of.
Wow.
You know, and again,
Thank
I just
you so
stopped
much
counting.
for the books, Bill. Thank
So
you.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
It's early this year. I'm loving this.
Yay.
So yeah, I love words. I've always been a lover of words, and poetry kind of speaks to me more so than fables or parables. And the reason being is because you can be obscure, you can be direct, you can play with through metaphors, similes, and things of that nature to make your point. You can twist it around, and it's also very, very interpretive. In that someone could read it and get one thing out of it, someone else can read it and get something else out of it. And I think to particular for me is like fun playing with people's minds, and I have fun doing it through poetry. To be honest with you. But I would say, why don't we just share some words? If other people have things they want to read, I'll start off while reading one, and everybody can chime in. This one's actually from Day by Day.
Mm-hmm.
It's titled "Eradicate the Hate."
Okay.
I say racism and bias are a good thing. To know what shadows they lurk behind, to blatant and make themselves easy to find. Argue their validity. This is founded in kind. Others see nothing wrong in such affairs. Those they are so, excuse my language, effing blind. Whole do suffer together. And that premise is not, for time will ultimately show all the cards. Wait for anyone to ever refute. Racism and bias are an illness that affects the minds more than a few. The matter is, not all are truthful. Me the same as you. Nothing we can defend. We're only sisters and brothers. We cannot stand by in peace and love while execution of others. Hate, famine, and war. These spirits, bodies, and sickest minds. Eyes already, my dear beloved ones. Bias are fatally poisonous bonds. Put our hands together of one. Here to the end, my friend. eradicate the hate.
Wow.
Right.
Wonderful in every way, as usual, Bill, because you are wonderful in every way.
Thank you.
Clap. Like that.
That last line was
So
vacate the hate.
because I can read poetry the rest of my life. I have no problem with sharing poetry. You know?
I can listen to it too, Bill.
Kim said, what was the last line?
Now you're gonna make me try to find the poem again.
I think it was vacate the hate.
Eradicate the hate.
Oh, nice. Nice.
One of the things, and it kind of tell you, you know, the slight motivation about that particular poem, and one of the things that I concern myself with, it's like being Black, and we know how we're persecuted, oppressed, repressed, and you know everything else. Firm believer, and how the pendulum swings back and forth. And one of my prayers is that we do not emulate those who oppressed us to sit on the throne. I think that, you know, as Sharif says, and that's one of my close buddies, Sharif Abdul-Rashid. It's a sickness that affects both the oppressed and the oppressor. You know, in that reality is there is only one race. There is not white. That was just perpetuated, you know, in the 1800s, that white race thing. Race, and it's the human race. I think that as time goes forward, you know, powers to be are striking this, you know, because of the pigmentation of various skins, or the cultural or ethnic backgrounds or religious backgrounds, maintain and divide it against you, so to speak, and consequently, you know, they're stealing the whole shebang. They're busy fighting and squabbling crumbs. To say that, you know, concerns I have in my right point of view, intellectual point of view, and also an emotional point of view, because I think earlier we're outgunned, you know, and we know that the peace initiative didn't really do much either. So we have to look at other means of, you know, rectifying, and you know, all that kind of stuff weighs on me, you know, and comes through in my writing.
Yeah, one of the points that Joy DeGruy makes in the book that we're reading, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, is the legacy of slavery is an impact on both the victims and the victors. And, you know, and we see it. I mean, we're some damaged people, you know, all the way around. And hate, you know, to me, it's such a insane kind of emotion, you know, that really blocks your ability to think clearly and rationally.
We're not the only ones damaged. They're just as damaged, but I think particular damage reaching spiritually, you know, we've been surviving, you know, through it all, primarily because of our embedded faith system. You know, helps a lot. Faith system is based on the icons they provided us, that natural faith system that we have as a people. But not to be prophetic, or that they express is going to be their ruination, their downfall. And I think to resurrect humanity is going to be left up to us as a people of color. That includes our indigenous people, you know, from the Americas and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
The people of color have a handle on empathy of being human, you know, more than European persuaded.
Are you all hearing the delay with
Yeah.
Bill?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Bill, would you mind going out and coming back in again? Because I want people to really be able to hear you clearly.
Okay, how do I do that? Let me see.
You know, go back if you have to the session 7 group and click that link again. And you just, to get out, you hit the X button up at the top. Kim?
Yeah.
Do you have any poetry ready for us right now?
I'm trying to decide between one or two pieces. I've not, yeah. I guess my preference would be as for Bill to hear my piece too.
Okay.
So I would wait until he can reconnect.
Until he gets back in? Okay.
But in the meantime, it's one piece is a little long and then the other piece is short and snappy. So I think I'm well, there he is.
Okay.
I think I'll read the one.
This icon says, "What would life be without a little poetry?"
Aww.
Not good. Okay. Okay, say something, Bill. Are you talking?
Yeah, I said something, Bill. Hello?
Okay. That seems like it might be a little bit better.
Okay.
Kim has a couple of poems she wants to read, Bill. So let's hear what she's got.
I think I'll just read the longer one because it's long.
Okay.
Any feedback you have would be great. And I wrote this at Weeksville, here in Brooklyn. And the poem is called Home.
Home.
Home. I pulled the M-E out of home, left the H for hate, the H for Holocaust, America's Holocaust, left the O for oppression, and the O for oh shit not again on the sidewalk. I climbed the stairs, checked the bars on the windows, triple locked the doors behind me, the M-E. If the truth be told, me, the M-E in home, full of shame and vinegar, as my home was more of a tattered quilt torn than a warm blanket whole. There was a blind patch for syphilis, less due to the name Tuskegee, more due to an American crime, an American apartheid, another oh shit not again. A smoky green patch for the burning of my great-granduncle. They all saw him there in an open field, too young to be considered a man. My mother's people buried what was left of him, cut the day out of the narrative of M.E. They cut it out with whiskey and regurgitated silences. There was a hard, brittle patch that scratched my skin with poisonous silence. An unspoken tale, a time when a white man forced my great-grand down. She birthed his child with mother's milk, souring and swollen tits. They locked these stories in heart chambers rotting with neglect. What else was one to do with hurt and injustice while scrumming milky white toilets? These are the people who ushered in the people who created my home. A crimson patch of suede for my mother, a warrior in her own right. Often wondered what happened in the home of my mother, her eyes darting and then suddenly locked on prey or foe. Most shot dead before they heard the release of her bow. She only grazed my father just enough to excite, but not enough to kill, though. A fancy man he was, light-footed, a Lindy Hop hoofer from way back in the day, who loved pretty young things, pretty young girls, which my mother unfortunately was. There was an orange patch for the man who loved us, his children, and we were strays, poverty's cousin, mistaken for bottom feeders in a land of milk and honey. He always found a quarter to slide in each of our hands, a joke, a tall tale, any reason to make us smile. But don't get it twisted. His hands were fast enough to shuffle cards with a straight razor. He was home, my only home. His love of candied orange slices, peanut brittle with coconut shavings, and then there was his whiskey. Home was how he called my name, the me in home. Kim, in 3 long syllables. After a day of battles lost and postponed, he would find me, and he would enter my world, an imaginary place of soft sounds and gentle gestures, the sweet hint of sugar cookies baking in distant drums, free from a world that would bomb little black girls in church basements, free from a world that would murder the Prince of Peace, free from the danger of men who only looked at me when my father was not looking. The we in these moments, we left the H for hate, we left the O for oh shit not again on the sidewalk. We leaned into each other as Bonanza's theme song played on TV. We triple locked our imaginary doors, knowing that this reprieve from fighting, this reprieve from oh shit not again, this catatonic daze, this blissful state, we would become prey. Behind the triple locked doors in our own country, in our own home, we would become prey, and there were always arrows to sharpen. And soon my own eyes would dart in search of foe. As I lined up and took aim with my laser-like bow, only the ancient softness of my father's smile reminds me to write for change and not to hunt for prey.
Very nice.
Loved it, loved it.
Who knew you were talented like that?
I got a little juice in there, a little juice left in the glass.
Yeah. Well, Bill, you know what, Bill? Tell us about, kind of some of the work that you have done to mentor and nurture and promote other artists.
Kind of loud.
It's frozen.
Uh-oh, you're frozen. No.
I'm frozen?
It's not really.
I don't know what it is tonight.
It's a delay, yeah. It's probably the internet service going on in your area, Sometimes that happens. But I know Bill used to have was it a blog radio program that did poetry readings, and when he talks about the 50 anthologies that he's a part of, those are books that his publishing company has produced that are producing other poets and writers.
I believe in the power of word, particular choices like either short or poetry. So I do a lot of promotion of poetry. We do a series we've been doing 2014 called The Year of the Poet, and there's a group of 4 poets we call the Poetry Posse. Represent France, we have Arabia, India.
Can't hear him.
And we come together every month and we produce an anthology. Plus, we feature 3 poets per month. Some of the intel I'm very proud of was which was blackmail.
That's the book we read in Revolutionary Love. Now we've lost your sound altogether.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think he can hear us either.
No.
I think, Bill, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Oh,
That's good.
That's not good. Maybe what we should do is call it a night for tonight. And because I really want you all to be able to hear Bill.
I want to
yeah, I want to hear Bill.
And it's just not as much fun getting every other
try
word.
one more time logging in and out if he doesn't mind.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Is Nicole still there? I have to get ready to go.
I don't know.
Maybe we do need to call it a night.
I am here, yes.
Okay.
I'm just having tech difficulties.
Yeah, one of those nights.
Maybe we should call it a night because I want people to really be able to hear you.
Yeah.
Kim was saying if you don't mind trying to go out and come back in one more time, but we can try it. But I don't really think it's going to work because I really think what's going on is an internet service problem. Like there might be a high wind in your area, stuff like that affects the speed. Okay, bye. He's going to try another browser.
Okay.
But
I have to skip town. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, and I've been with a little person all day. I got to go to work tomorrow, and I'm exhausted.
Okay,
all
Venita.
right.
Okay. However,
Right. See you next week, Venita.
yes, Nicole. Next week, I'd like to also for us to exchange numbers, telephone numbers, because if something ever comes up or goes down, I like to have phone numbers, addresses.
So we can do that in an email?
Yeah, email or in the private group, the session 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Venita, when you
that
get
works
out,
for me.
why don't you start a conversation there in session 7, to get us doing that.
Okay. Meanwhile, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good evening.
Have a good night's sleep.
Yes, dear. Nice seeing everyone. And tell Bill I love him, and I'm looking forward to hearing him coming back hopefully next week.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Venita.
Well, it wouldn't be right for us to be back on the air without having some technical issues, right?
Yeah. So you said the schedule is online already?
Yeah, it looks like we lost Nicole too.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I did was this is only 7 weeks. And so because I read the book already over our break, I was able to kind of match the chapters to everyone's personality. And so I made some assignments. So I wanted us to look at that, and hopefully everybody can make themselves available on the date that I chose for you. I am planning to facilitate again next week. And so I think what I'll do is try to take some time at the beginning of the meeting so we can pin down, the facilitators for the remaining 5 weeks. And so that schedule is it's in the Session 7. It's everywhere, actually. It's in the Session 7 group. It's on our public Facebook page. It's on our G Plus page. It's everywhere. So I don't know.
This was lovely. Thank you.
Huh?
I said this was lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, I find poetry so therapeutic.
I do too. I write a poem a day.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a prolific writer. I'm just a procrastinator, so I don't get a whole lot of things finished.
Right. Me too. Well, I'm not. I don't write as much as I used to. Starting with my health issues, but I used to be truly a prolific writer, and I used to write a little bit of poetry. Every now and then, something would bubble up. But I'm not really a poet. I don't.
Well, you're an excellent writer. I write well. I write a great story, but grammar, all of that stuff, that's not me.
Yeah.
So I'm always learning. Hi, Bill. Welcome back. Oh yeah.
Is that
That's better.
better?
Yes.
Is he talking? You can hear him?
Yes, he said, is that any better?
I can't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you have another poem you want to read, Bill?
I always have poetry.
I know you do.
I'm gonna read.
Rhetorical question.
That's okay. I'm gonna read this one. This one is sort of like a conscious spiritual type poem, and it's titled "I Am Absolved." The demons of darkness are dancing with glee, yet fully awakened. The steeple are still ringing, calling home all who have forsaken their cosmic birthright in the midst of this night adorned with things which ushers forth the grand illusion. Collusion betwixt the fallen, the conspiracy found within the heresy, has stifled the sound we have been waiting for so many aeons. Let us rise, let us get up, let us dance in the night, let us dance in the light of the distant memories and the faintly twinkling stars and the liquid luminescence of the moon. Let us dance the dance of truth that is not moved and is not soothed by the smooth talking tongues of deceit. Dance that Let us speak that word known only by the great soul, that which resides within me, that word that has not been heard since life's tree had been planted in the garden. And by the four rivers I stand with eyes open and outstretched hands that I may receive thy blessings, Father, and hearken unto my plea that overflows with the anguish of illusions endured and the hunger for joy still yet desired, that which emanates within the abysmal depths of me. Teach thee, let not death nor her family of trickery have its way in our triumph this day. Oh, when the sun arises and recognizes who I am, my sorrow is reconciled, and all vile things shall no longer be, for I am awakening. Surely see the legacy of the bliss-filled life you would have for me when I commune and realize. And my soul speaks I, and I will not deny that in a twinkling of an eye the lie is vanquished, and the ancient language of thy love will be spoken freely once again. To the tune, and albeit none too soon, and truth will forever reign as my tears rain down, and I submit to the divine acknowledgement of the presence of the holy of all things manifest. In the light of being, seeing, and no longer feeling that inner light I could never escape. And I bow in the know that as the four rivers do flow into eternity eternally, that I too am the infinite, am as I have always been. Yes, I am. The moment when the final epiphany greets my consciousness with the sacred kiss, absolved. That's that piece.
All right, is that out of Day by Day?
No, that's an older one. That was written back in 2011.
Okay.
You know, that's older one. That was you wouldn't stumble over reading it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That was really nice.
And you know, I find I have to. It takes me a while to like process. And
yeah, I do
reflect.
better reading than hearing as well. You know, I do make the distinguishment between spoken word and poetry readings and, you know, page poets. You know, as you said, processing, you know, takes a different path depending on what you're doing. I can get more out of reading a poem than I can in hearing one.
You know, but we all learn in different ways. I of course, you know, I'm a reader and a writer, and so that, you know, that's a primary way in which I learn. But we know that, you know, Black people in general continue to be very verbal, oral people. So I just think this is such a great addition to the book that we're reading on healing. You know, and Kim was just saying she writes a poem a day. I had no idea. Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're all great.
That's
No. Let's be fair here.
Well, you know, I'm gonna tell you, Kim. You know, the reality is write anyway, and stay outside of judgment, because if it comes out of you, it has some significance. You know, and that's the advice I give to my writers. Do not ever diminish the things that come out of you, because they come out of you for a reason. You know, whether it's, you know, a self-healing process, and, you know, we never know. I give you a classic example. The poem Evictus that Nelson Mandela held close to his heart and recited every day for 27 years. That poem had a profound effect on who he was and helped him to survive. We don't know what level of impact that poem had on him. So, you know, I've had people come back to me years later and says, you know, people I didn't even know, says, you know, I read one of your poems back in 2000, such and such and such and such, and it changed my life, or it did this or did that. So never minimize, because you may not think much of it, but someone else, you know, it might mean the world to them. I publish so much.
Kim, are any of your poems published?
This poem that I read tonight is going to be published in an anthology of women of color writers, and then I have a short story published, and then the writers group that I host, we did an anthology that has excerpts from my novel. So since my daughter just went off to college, now I want to really get into finishing some of the work, because I write a lot. I just don't polish and finish a lot of it. So this is my year to start really taking it seriously. You know,
well, if you're not friends already, you should definitely befriend William S. Peters Sr. on Facebook. And what's the Facebook page called? The Inner Child, what?
It's a group. We have actually we have groups and pages. We have I think presences on Facebook. you know, through the Interchild family. But if you can catch me at William S. Peters. What I'm going to do also, since I know you're a poet, as I was saying earlier, we publish an effort, an anthology a month called The Year of the Poet. And we feature 3 poets each month, you know, so we always like to have a, you know, an eclectic and diverse poets, you know, we're not, you know, prejudiced or biased or that kind of stuff. So we've gathered people from all over the globe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forward the information to Loga, and she can forward, excuse me, El Michelle. She's gonna,
You know, I was about to go off.
you know, this Clark Kent, you know, persona you have, or Mrs. Clark Kent. Today you listen to more of that. Okay, you know, hear you there and hear you that. You know, but anyway, I'm going to forward it to our moderator.
Okay.
Thank you.
I only know her as Michelle, so I don't know the other persona.
My friend,
you know, she has a
Michelle Kim.
Oh.
Okay, so I guess I'm not a friend anymore.
That's right.
But that's okay. Miss L. Michelle, you know. But I'll forward the information. You might see something you might be interested in, and having, you know, it requires 3 poems, you know, your bio of about 100, 150 words, and a picture of yourself. And like I said, it has global outreach. We make the book available each month as a free download, as well as sell print copies. You know, I think they're $7 this year for the print copies. But we also, if you're a feature poet, we'll send you a complimentary copy.
Well, that's so nice.
You know,
I would love that.
Well, you know, the thing is to empower the voices. You know, matter of fact, we're getting ready to put together an anthology. Actually, we had 3 of them in the works. One is the anthology for Janet, who is my partner, who just recently crossed over a week before last. We're also doing an anthology called I Want My Poetry Too. Going back some years ago, there was this gentleman named Monty Smith, who's a poet and activist, came on a radio show, and he questioned, what is the purpose? What is our purpose in poetry? And from that spawned the series I Want My Poetry Too. If you have time, El Michelle, I'll read mine. You know, I want my poetry too. But at any rate, you know, it spawned that particular type of mentality. And then we have another one coming up called Iraqi Voices, and these are poets strictly from Iraq. You know, because voices are not something that's heard in the West.
Mm-hmm.
We want to, you know, share their voices, you know, because you know, it's for me, it's really awesomeness, you know, and if we depend on media to provide our, you know, we know where we're getting.
I think we're losing you a little bit, Jared. It's like every other word.
Mm-hmm. No.
No?
No. You know what, let's stop, because I really, you know, I really want to get this, you know, for the recording so that it's clear and everything.
Okay.
But
and
before we do, I just want to offer you my condolences, and I just appreciate you spending this evening with us even more. So, you know, given that you're mourning, I just appreciate that so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. I really do.
But yeah, do you think you'll be able to be here next week, Bill? I know you said you've got this travel schedule going on.
The 11th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I should be able to. I'll be in Virginia, but yeah, I should be able to. As I said, you know, just remind me.
What's,
Set time aside.
what's the name of the poem that you were going to read?
I want my poetry too.
Okay. Well, maybe if you have that one with you, we could start off with that one next week. Okay.
Okay. No problem.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. You know,
Thank you so much.
I'm so
What
glad
is-
we're back. I was getting
Yeah, I'm
low.
glad we're back, and what a way to start.
All right. See y'all next week reading our story together.
All right then. Have a good night, Phil. Good night, Michelle.
Okay.
Good night.